Hello, everybody. It's The Warm back with Raging Loop. And I want to start by, well, I'm not sure if it's something I need to apologize for, but I've kind of been feeling like the last few episodes of both of my playthroughs haven't really been up to snuff. I'm not really sure. Well, they've been shorter, I think. And it's mostly kind of a consequence of just kind of gut feeling. I just get to a point where I feel like I should stop. Or it can be something where it's just the timing of when I'm recording. It's just, I have a feeling that I better stop now because if I keep going, I know I might stop at an awkward point, be forced to stop, and that stop at that point would be awkward, something like that. And also, and I've mentioned this several times now, but sometimes I'm forced to record a bit late because I've gotten to the rhythm of doing, one upload per day. So if you want to do that, you got to do it pretty much every day. So I want to try and get back into the flow of things because I've been feeling out of it lately. So, luckily today I'm able to record at a reasonable hour, so I'm awake and aware. So, yeah, that was just kind of my little opening spiel there. In any case, let's talk about Raging Loop, shall we? Last time was a pretty incredible sequence of events. We were planning on going through with our plan to planning on going through our plan. We were going to get Yasunaga. We were going to honor Kaori's wishes and go for her son first. Unfortunately, we were preempted by, of all people, Chiemi, which, considering certain thoughts about what could be going on with her, might make a lot of sense. But we, recovered from that, and so the plan is obviously going to be to, well, have we recovered from that? Probably not. The plan now is just to try and basically, I don't even know what the plan is. Haruaki obviously talked with Haru, and apparently Haruaki has some sort of idea about what to do during the next feast. I don't know what that's going to be. I don't even know how everyone's going to be reacting to this. I don't think we did anything to the body after Chiemi died. I guess we just left it there. So I don't know how people are going to react to that. I mean, will it be clear that she killed herself? I mean, we left the gun there. Did we leave everything there? Yeah, and we never investigated what was up with those stairs. There was apparently blood or something on the stairs. We never even checked that out, which just seemed very strange to me. So I'm really not sure what is in terms of the actual events of the story. I just don't know how to predict what's going to happen next. This game has done very well in surprising me in that way. So let's also talk about regarding the revelations of what was said by Chiemi and by the god that appeared, the god that appeared in Haru. There's a few things I want to address regarding that. A couple good comments from Serial, and Lise talking about that. One thing I want to talk about is, I guess I was kind of not confused, but just kind of unsure based on the wording. So the god that's in Haru, whatever that entity is, the main point that that entity was speaking about was that apparently there are three gods that are involved with our current situation. Okay? There's Shinai, the Great Lord Shinai, a god that is as good as dead, and then there's our enemy. So I think in the process of hearing all that, one thing I said was, well, okay, so the Great Lord Shinai is just one god then, not three mixed together. And a good point by Siriel here is that, well, it could be that it's kind of, how do I word this? It's so Great Lord Shinai as a god himself. The story about that we heard from the old kami that, or no, we heard from Mamiya that Shinai is actually the three Okami mixed together. That could all still be the case, and so the three as one Shinai are also a part of this. So it's there are three entities. See, so this is where I'm getting a bit messed up here. Okay, so three entities: our enemy, God as good as dead, and Shinai. And Shinai is already three as one. So it's three as one plus two more. Am I making sense? I hope I'm making sense. Okay. So, and yeah, I should have left that open as a possibility rather than just dismissing the previous story we heard. But yes, Sirio goes on to talk about how, you know, this god that's in Haru is separate from Shinai, and I'm pretty sure I've understood that. I think that's been my understanding that the quote unquote god that both Haru and Chiemi have mentioned in the past are this god is something different from the Shinai that is mentioned in the legend and the story. I'm pretty sure I that's been my understanding. So yes, I agree with that. And then obviously there's the Siriel marks the third god as the one responsible for looping, considering, and it's good that this was brought up, that the god that's in Haru and Chiemi wasn't immediately aware of what our situation was, but inferred it from what we said. So yeah, all this is to just more clearly distinguish what we're talking about here. We're talking about Great Lord Shinai, which is the three Okami-sama. It's the god in the legends, the god of the mountain, the god of the Feast of the Yomi Purge. That is one entity. Then we have another god that is potentially residing in Haru, but doesn't need to be because we've heard that god exist outside of Haru after her death. And that one seems somewhat malevolent in nature due to being, due to enjoying all the horrible madness that's going on here and is taunting us. We still don't have much information on that particular god. And then we have a third entity, which I would probably associate mostly with Mako, mostly because whenever we die, we see sheep, and we know she has the meh sound she makes, which is apparently what the sheep sound like in Japanese, and from her drawings that she's made. The only hang-up I have on that, I think I mentioned this last episode too, is that Mako doesn't seem particularly interested in us. Like, she's perfectly, she could be friendly, but she's not interested in us in the same way as Rokako or Chiemi. And I don't mean that romantically. I mean, Rokako seems to have this view that we are special in some way, And you'd think if Mako was the god that bestowed these loop powers upon Haruaki, that she would at least be somewhat interested in his progress or wanting to know what was happening. So, you gotta wonder, is this, if she is associated with the looping power, is it something she's doing consciously, or who knows what? Yeah, So, but yeah, I'm not sure I did that good of a job recounting your comment here, Serial, but good to get that. I think I already agreed with most of it. It's just I don't think I very clearly stated it. Um, there was something else too. Um, Elise had a pretty good comment here. Oh yeah, here's one of the big things here. Okay, so last time Haruaki made a comment about how um, well, Takumi might be the snake again because if we're going along the lines of whatever, there's some kind of methodology to picking who gets what guardian. Well, first, who gets a guardian, and then what that guardian is. Well, if say Takumi gets a guardian again, maybe he'd get the same guardian as before. That's what Haruaki was talking about. So the hope is that Takumi would get the snake, and so we could kill him and then take his place. And so I took it a step too far, and I said, "Oh, maybe that's set in stone that if you get a guardian, you're always going to get the same one." But we already have the obvious refutation of that, in that Kanzo was a monkey, but he was also probably the spider in the first route where he was killed. So, I guess Haruaki is talking in terms of likelihood or probability, maybe something like that. I'm not entirely sure, but definitely not something set in stone, I think. But thanks to Lise for reminding me of that. Is there anything else I want to say? I think that's pretty much it. I mean, we already talked. I don't think there's anything more to talk about the Chiemi Looper theory yet. At least I've not remembered anything else to support or deny it. Um, yeah. Oh yeah. At least had another mention in the comments about how maybe maybe this could explain the blood on the stairs or something. Although it would be okay. This would be very obvious come the morning, but maybe we know she's got this gun stored away. Maybe she's able to fight off the corruption bringers. That would mean there's something that is not supernatural, and I would be somewhat surprised at that. I think we just have to wait and see. But it is strange that supposedly we are being hounded by these entities, and they're only being driven back by the water. And Chimmy's just able to walk around at night and, be fine. So it would make some sense that, you know, if she has a weapon that is able to effectively drive them off, then that would explain that. Okay, I think that's pretty much everything. Now, yeah, okay. Should be everything. Let's actually play the dang game, shall we? Um, or yeah, I've been having some tech issues too, but I don't think I want to trouble you guys with that in this Let's Play. You're not here for my technical difficulties. You're here for Raging Loop. So let's just get into Raging Loop. I might maybe someday I'll make a separate video that is not specifically a Let's Play video where I can talk about some miscellaneous things. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Okay, let's get into it. It is now Wednesday, and we have to deal with the craziness that happened last night. I woke up feeling an overwhelming exhaustion. It was 5 in the morning, a time when Kanzo-san was already active. I wanted to sleep some more, but I couldn't let them suspect that I was a wolf based on the idea that I didn't get enough rest. After returning here last night, I'd changed my clothes, wiped my body, and wondered how I was supposed to hide the costume parts. In the end, I hid it under some newspaper, which was very cartoonish. If the humans found it just like that, I'd feel like the butt of some bizarre joke. A part of me did hope that it would be gone by the time I woke up, though. That was actually, I actually had a similar thought. They mysteriously showed up. The clothes appeared in your room. I kind of had half a feeling that they would disappear, too. I'd gone to sleep at 2 in the morning, and, sure enough, the costume was gone by the time I woke up. Oh, wait, no, yep, well, confirmed. How about that? Yep, fair enough. Well, of course it would be. If the costume remained, you could easily find the wolves just by checking everyone's homes during the day. Last time, when I'd infiltrated Chammy's room to mess with her guns, I hadn't seen anything like this. Also, if the humans found out there was something so artificial involved in the whole wolfing business, the Yomibito side of the story, that the monsters had transformed into humans, would have been rendered unbelievable. No matter how much the locals revered Yasumizu's legends, I felt like the feast wouldn't get anywhere without the fear caused by the idea that they were dealing with something supernatural. Was the thing I'd seen the first time actually Yasunaga-kun or Tai-san wearing a wolf outfit? That was my thought when we first saw the costumes, although it seemed quite... Do you think that this is just a perspective trick? The fact that we're down some stairs so it looks larger? Because it looked pretty dang big at first, but now looking at this again, maybe this is just a trick here. That didn't seem far off the mark. The mist and the darkness made the costumes look extremely convincing. Maybe that was Great Lord Shinai himself, as he appeared in the red mist that one time. According to Haruchan, that was a god, but... forget that. What was Haruchan herself? How did she know about my looping? It actually seemed that she even knew about its cause. Possessed by the wolf, by the Okami, by the great god? There were 3 gods, and that had nothing to do with the Okami somehow being a group of 3? Yeah. So this is what we were trying to untangle in the beginning of this episode here. Was Great Lord Shinai a tripartite god? And one of the other 2 was my enemy? What the hell was that supposed to mean? She'd given me a lot of information, but it was all vague and uncertain. Were there mysteries and legends I still didn't know about? That'd make most of my current investigation completely off the mark. Was I missing or misinterpreting something crucial about the info I already had? God. This made me want to rely on Mamiya-san, Tai-san, or Rokako-san's knowledge. But this time, I was their enemy, and had to kill them all. Though, this time, Mamiya-san was in a decent state, so I could ask her... So I would ask her before I got rid of Hashimoto-san. She wouldn't know the true motives behind that. Ugh. Why was Chimmy's face flashing through my mind every now and then? I went outside, intentionally avoided looking at the dorm, and headed to the plaza. Kanzo-san and Takumi-san were already there, and they told me about Chimmy's death. No one else was missing. Then, all that blood was... Oh well, it didn't matter. I think it does, Haruaki. Okay, just gonna... It strikes me as very strange. Unless we were restricted on time or something, it didn't really feel that way. But it seems very strange to me that they did not either investigate Chiemi, like her body and her situation, or the stairs where they saw blood. I'm very confused why they wouldn't have done that. I mean, maybe Kaori and Haru have an excuse in that they were, afraid. And Haruaki was obviously completely taken aback by what happened, but nonetheless... Okay, as we waited in the plaza, we were eventually joined by Kaori-san. She seemed a lot better than yesterday. Had her mind stabilized a bit when she'd started looking at killing her sons in a positive manner?
食事の準備をしていましょうか。
ええ。
Yesterday, we had agreed on 5 things. We would focus on information control and gathering. As in, we would avoid having secret talks and instead try to listen in on any that the humans had. We would avoid talking about things we weren't supposed to, like the cause of Chiami's death. Haru-chan would contribute to the feast once, then continue being as anti-elder and anti-outsider as possible. Kaori-san would declare that she would follow Yasunaga-kun's vote and do it even if he was voting for a wolf. And finally, we would fake our guardians. However, I would be the first to act, and only from the 3rd day onwards. The plan was focused mostly on keeping them from looking suspicious or doing something they didn't have to. I was apprehensive about trying to get them to go wild like Chiami did and have them kill more humans. After all, I didn't have the trust or charisma for that. Of course, my final goal was my own survival, not theirs. There would probably be situations in which I had to use them as human shields, or just situations when it was an option. But...
ならないで。
I didn't want to become just a murderer. A situation where I, not Haru-chan or Kaori-san, was the one suspected was the best path to lead us to victory. Also, as an outsider, I had to gain their trust and make them certain I wouldn't betray them in the feast. And on top of that, I would survive. There'd been many unexplained deaths during his term, but there was no denial that he'd survived as a wolf. I thought about those deaths, especially Yoshitsugu-kun's and Mochi's, many times so far, but I couldn't really believe that Yasunaga-kun was the one who'd organized them. He didn't get rid of his allies, and he stood up against Tai-san, even if not as blatantly as she had when she was a human. Personally, I thought that was the right way to handle it. I had to prepare for anything while trying to make sure that all the wolves survived. Anyway, I was silently preparing the food. By the time it was 7, everyone besides Chiemi had gathered in the dining hall. Yasunaga-kun's face was pale. Apparently, she'd committed suicide right in front of his room. Seeing that right after waking up certainly wasn't my idea as a good time. Especially when it was the girl you liked and respected. Mochi didn't seem too fazed by her death. He was too busy helping Yasunaga-kun cope with it. As for Haru-chan...
兄ちゃん、無理しないで。この椅子座って。座布団は？毛布とかいる？
いや、いいよ。大丈夫。
モッチ、元気の出る薬草とかないかな？
おー。昼でも探すかな。
昼？嫌よ、そんな気持ち悪い。
She was overdoing it. Wouldn't she appear unnatural? Wasn't she supposed to act even more shocked than Yasunaga-kun? Feeling uncomfortable about this, I continued preparing the food when Takumi-san spoke up.
もうみんな知ってるだろうが、昨日死人が出た。寄生してた千恵美が死んだ。
There was some silent noise. Kaori-san muttered Chiemi's name, while I created a gloomy expression.
言った通りだったな。
そうか。俺はどうも奇妙だと思ってる。
あんな殺し方、人にできますかね。まるで獣のような。
Say what now? Dumbass.
どうかされたんです？織部さん。
いえ、この辺で人を襲うのはイノシシかツキノワグマだけですけど。 まさかそんなのまで。
いや、そういうんじゃねえ。おやっさん、何か心当たりあるか？
ねえ。
That was the end of the exchange. Had she masked her blunder well? Making the wolves say things that only they could know was a good way for the humans to find. Oh, so. Oh man. So, I was about to say I would have been Kaori here. I was like, what do you mean? She wasn't killed animalistically. She shot herself. There should have been the gun there. And Hashimoto was planning on something like that. Wow. Mochi had fallen for it last time, and there was no guarantee I wouldn't slip up while I talked. I had to make sure I didn't fall into the same situation as she did. But beasts? Badgers? Oh wait, no, maybe it did happen. Was her body attacked by the bringers of corruption afterwards?
一応写真は撮ったのですけどね。
繰り返すが、外に出るとき消せよ、おっさん。
ええ、それが必要なら。とりあえず必要があればどうぞ。ただ、繊細な方はおすすめしませんよ。食事前だし。
絶対やめた方がいいです。
You could tell by her expression that she'd seen it. She looked like she wouldn't touch food for the whole day. Whether we looked or not didn't affect our chances at being found out, so I just raised my hand.
わしも。
He and I were the only ones who looked at it. The others surely believed looking at it would do no good. I took a look at the back monitor of Hashimoto-san's camera, an expensive digital eye model from just last year. Yeah, it was completely different from what I'd seen. It was actually pretty close to the results of the corruption I'd seen in the previous feasts. It was a mountain of chewed and torn up meat and bones. It made me nauseous, or at least I acted like it did. I was pretty used to it at this point.
ひどいな。
Interesting.
どうぞ。
Interesting. So now, you know what this speaks to me about? Remember the one thing that I've been keeping in my head that I've been trying to look for an answer for? That is what happened with Mamiya when she was a wolf. She appeared to die from corruption, but now that doesn't appear to have to be the answer. Now, I don't think the other wolves killed her because I think that would be a corruption. That would be a rule break because they're supposed to only kill one person a night. But say, for example, maybe Mamiya who had already lost Hashimoto and was freaking out of having to deal with being a wolf with two crazy teammates. What if she killed herself? You know, what if she did something like that? And maybe during the night, it looked like her corpse was fine. But come morning, maybe the bringers of corruption had their way with it, similar to how it seems to have happened with Chemi here. Interesting. Now, it doesn't have to be that she committed suicide, but now it seems at least that their corruption doesn't have to be the only explanation there.
おおこりゃ狼じゃないの。
He'd actually said something other than the wolf is coming? And even asked something. In response, Kanzo-san just grunted, clearly displeased. He wanted to use this as evidence to hang the wolves in the feast, but there were some problems. One of them was that Chemi seemed to have died to the corruption. It didn't make sense.
じいちゃんは 汚れを受けてしもうた。
はい。これは物意味の禁を破られたのでしょう。
Man, I was worried how we were gonna have to explain or have to, well, because I think it would have seemed a bit obvious that she killed herself, or if not killed herself, that it would have seemed to a mundane kind of murder. You know, she was shot with a gun outside or something. But we're dealing with, yeah, it looks like a corruption death.
でもチエネーがそれを知らないわけないでしょ。チエネーもお話は怖がってたんだから。
はい。どうしてこんなことに。
僕に用があったのかな。だから僕の部屋の前に。
Okay, they're not mentioning the gun. Where'd the gun go?
思い当たる件は
何も。なんなら避けられてると思ってたし。
What? Was the idea that she'd committed suicide about to be glossed over? Yeah, no one's brought it up. Yes, I think that's it. Was it because they didn't find the gun? That would be... Lying right now would be dangerous.
とにかく予想もしてねえことだ。飯食ったら片付けて、その後どうするか相談しねえと。
待ってください。私専門家じゃありませんけど、現場保存ってものがあるんじゃ。
片付けないと不都合があるのですか？
俺らの感覚じゃな。犯人探しより今そこに転がってる死体を片付ける方がずっと大事なんだよ。
なるほど。
橋本さん。
言う通りにしよう。ああ、室さんと牧島さんがその片付けをなさるんですか？
ん？ああ。
じゃあ僕と Q ちゃんで食堂周辺を見回っていましょう。皆さんは食堂からあまり遠くに出ないようにする。その方がよくありませんか？
おやっさん、どう思う？
でけえの猿だったな、お前。
ええ。
見回りは任せる。何でもいいから獲物持ってけ。
なるほど。わかりました。
Hashimoto-san pointed out the necessity for patrols. Sorry. Hashimoto-san pointed out the necessity for patrols, came out as a reliable volunteer, and became even more trustworthy. On the other hand, he was giving himself a way to talk to Mamiya-san in secret. Was it his way of separating her, whose identity wasn't confirmed yet, from the rest of the group? I had to calm down. The first part of his move was obviously great, but I wasn't so sure about the second one. Hashimoto-san was an active player, but I couldn't tell which of his actions were intentional and which were coincidence.
というわけで、食べられる人は朝ごはんを食べた方がいいでしょうね。僕はいただきたいな。いいですか？
はい、もちろん。匠さんも大丈夫ですか？
おう。香織さん、もちろんいただくよ。
本当に食べて大丈夫なのかね？
Hey, Kyo. We haven't seen or heard you for a while now. He had to say that now, of all times.
ああ？てめえ何が言いて？
Also, it does indeed look like Yoshitsugu... It would be too easy, I know, but he did not fall victim to corruption this time.
私も別に不要な気遣いをしたくてしているわけではないがね。実際に人が死んだ。迷信に従って。そんな状況だからこそ、 迷信ではなく適切な疑念を持つべきだ。違うかね。
何言ってんだてめえ、あ？まさかババアを疑ってんじゃねえだろうな。
まあ。
Unlike how he was so far, Kinosuke Ishii spoke those words without any sarcasm. Had he read the mood and chosen to become the resentable but not wrong kind of character? No, he wasn't that considerate.
義継やめろ。野里さんは今回正しい。
へばってんなら兄貴は黙ってろや。
母さん、味見はしたよね。
Something wasn't right here. Why was everyone so sharp so early in the game?
ええ、もちろん。
Okay, good. Kaori-san understood what they meant.
でも、もう一度いただいた方が良さそうね。
Nice. Good job.
いえ、僕がいただきます。
This was my time. Everyone wanted to suspect me over anyone else, so I had to eat before they did. That was the only way to make them understand that I didn't add any poison to the food. Unfortunately for them, we weren't pulling anything like that this time. I tasted the food, then gave everyone a show of me rewashing the dishes, making them finally agree that the food was safe. We then had breakfast. Mamiya-san and Yasunaga-kun refused, while Haruchan ate quite a lot, actually. And then Takumi-san and Kanzo-san left the dining hall.
それじゃあ、僕はこの周りをぐるぐる回って警戒しておきますね。危険な獣がいるかもしれないから、ここを離れない方がいいけど、閉じこもってばかりも体に毒だ。声の届く範囲で自由時間にしましょ
う。私も行くんですよね。
他に誰か行くかい？うん。じゃあ、僕らだけで行こ
う。I didn't understand what his final words meant. What if accepting the offer was the right choice?
片付けましょうか。
ええ。
This was my job, so this was the right thing for me to do, right? Okay. By the time we finished cleaning up, only 5 people were left in the dining hall.
ナムシない大権現。ナムシない大権現。
メイコ、髪が跳ねています。おいで。ついてあげますから。
いや、いらない。
うっせえ。
Tai-san was in her praying mode. Kurako-san was busy caring for Meiko, who seemed in a foul mood. Kinosuke-san seemed to want to call out to her, while Yoshitsugu-kun just seemed pissed. The Journos were outside, while Takumi-san, who'd returned for a moment, had left once again.
おやっさん、外の方を見て回るってよ。宴は昼過ぎにしようってことだが、なんかあるか？
Just like yesterday, no one argued. People needed reasons to not follow an already established process. Yasunaga-kun was the one who'd point that out, and
わかったよ、匠に。
He looked really drained.
ちっと話すか、ヤス。え？春、近持ち、ちょっとヤス借りるぞ。夫妻子、香織さん、ちょっと俺ん家まで戻ってくる。
あ、了解です。
すみません、お気遣いを。
そんなんじゃねえさ。大丈夫か？
うん、大丈夫。
バカ野郎！昨日ああやって覚悟決めたんじゃねえかよ、兄貴！
よし、 誰にだって弱みってのがあんだ。お前だって母ちゃんがいなくなったら、いや縁起でもねえ。忘れてくれ、香織さんも。
いいえ、私が言わなきゃならないことでした。
俺は覚悟してる。
Takumi-san and Yasunaga-kun left.
はるちゃん、その辺でなんか積もっか。あ、うん。霧が怖かったりしない？うん、もう平気よ。
Haru-chan, acting as weird as always, left alongside Mochi. Mochi's definitely... he's gonna be seeing through Haru so easily. He has to be, right? This situation was clearly set up by Hashimoto-san. Everyone split up and were free to have secret talks. What was the purpose of this? Was I just overthinking it? Were they just taking the opportunity given to them with no ulterior motives whatsoever?
ひとまずこれでよし。久石さんも休んでらっしゃい。まだお昼までは時間あるし。
休んでか。じゃあ僕もちょっと外に出てみましょうか。
みんな出て行ってしもうて。黄泉の霧は汚れの元なのにね。
ええ。だからちょっとみんなが心配で見てきます。
Now, how would a good wolf spend this strange time? I couldn't think of anything. Was I a dumbass? It's a question we all have to ask ourselves now and then, Haruaki. Yep. Well, I did have some ideas, but they all seemed like bad moves. Traps, basically. Could I eavesdrop on someone's secret chats? It'd work when it was dark, but during the day you could see anyone within a whopping few meters. Could I just join one of their conversations? Wasn't it best just to avoid secret chats in the first place? Was it normal for wolves to be so paranoid? A part of me couldn't help but suspect that Mochi or Hashimoto-san was hiding in this mist. I couldn't see or hear anyone, so my brain perceived this world as empty. Before the unease and loneliness took over, such situations made you feel all-powerful. No one would blame me for anything I did. I could lay down in the road, go commando, shout out that I was a wolf, but all of that was just an illusion. Was this also some sort of trap to get the wolf to do something stupid? Or was this some kind of filter that caught those so paranoid that they actually believed stuff like that? Ah, crap. I wanted to just scream and run around. I wanted to do something no one could predict. I looked up to the sky. And suddenly, the ground vanished beneath my feet. Ow. Huh. Basically, I'd walked over a small cliff. Since I was unstable and fell feet first, I ended up hitting my legs, ass, back, and head on the ground below. Even if there were no feast, someone could actually die in the mist by accident, and now I knew that better than ever. As I tried to get up, I felt an intense pain in my leg. Wow, this really feels like a very unforced error or something. Where were you walking that there was a tiny cliff? This was so stupid. Also, the area below the plaza was clearly out of bounds, so I was breaking the rules here. Though this was an accident I hadn't planned myself, so I probably wouldn't draw any more suspicion than I already had. As I stood up.
何しとる、兄ちゃん。
I heard a voice behind my right side, and along with it, something metallic. I instantly raised my hands, but the pain that came over me made me groan. I nearly fell to my knees out of pain, but I was afraid that he wouldn't tolerate any sudden movement, so I just slightly bent my body.
落ちたか？
はい。
ひねったか？
はい。すみません。どうしよう。
Another metallic sound, followed by a few different ones. I had no idea what that meant, so I just became more tense.
弾抜いた。安心せえ。
I slowly turned to the right. Kanzo-san now had his gun over his shoulder, not ready to fire. That let me finally relax, but my leg still hurt. I might have sprained it.
歩けんか？
少し休めば。
左か？
ええ。
Yeah, I feel ya. I don't think I've done it. I did anything that bad, but like my back, I don't know what to call this place. Where my leg meets my torso, like from my back. My right leg has just been, I don't know, again, I don't know what I did, but it's been sore for like it feels like a couple months now at this point. And it's very annoying. It's not debilitating or anything. I can still walk around just fine. It's just there are times when it just hurts. So I don't know. But it certainly wouldn't be any as intense as this because I never did anything that bad.
どれ？
To my surprise, he rested the gun in a more comfortable position, then came up to me, crouched, and lent me his shoulder. He seemed much shorter than me, but that was probably an illusion caused by his posture. We were probably about equal in height. Also, his body was a whole lot more solid than mine. Every part touching me seemed to be covered in hard muscle. I wasn't too fond of the idea of being punched by this beast. Now that I thought about it, all the wolves so far were physical weaklings. They even needed guns to make it through a direct confrontation during the day.
すみません。迷惑を。
慣れてねえなら、おとなしくしとれ。
はい。
お前、狼は誰だと思う？
Huh. This wasn't like him either. He really didn't seem like the type of person to ask that kind of thing here, of all places, and from the person he trusted least.
皆さんから見れば僕なんじゃないですか。こんな時に外から来て素性も知れなくて。
てめえがうさんくさいのと狼かどうかは関係ねえ。
A considerate response? From him? Something wasn't right here. What was I to do here? Huh, got it. Really? That's what we're gonna do? Okay. You know what? We're getting to about 50 minutes now. I finally was able to do a bit of a longer episode. Not an extremely long episode, but I feel satisfied at this point. Yeah, so I think I'll call it here. Quite a few things here. And I'm very curious about Haruaki's observation that some of the people here seem to be acting different. So we had the example of them being worried about the food, and we have Kanzo here, and I mean, on the one hand, there's the meta idea that this is the third route, this is the third game, so of course it's just going to increase in difficulty, but that doesn't explain it in universe, you know? So definitely curious to try and keep track of that. Also, we had the revelation that Shammi's corpse has been mutilated or torn up. That's pretty interesting. And so now everyone thinks it's a corruption death. That should help us. That should help us going into the feast, I think. Really worried about Haru. I feel 90% sure that Mochi completely knows that something's wrong with her. Just I just don't doubt that, really. And yeah, I think whatever's going to happen, whatever we try to do, I'm also fairly certain that Hashimoto is just going to dismantle us and defeat us pretty easily. Just starting out. I think we're going to need to loop a few times before we're able to get a handle on him. But this is interesting. This is interesting where we're at. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I hope you all are doing all right. I've been The Worm, and this has been Raging Loop. Hopefully next time we may actually get to the feast, and that should be a good long episode. All right. Have a good one.